So let's go to Q&A. Bino Thomas asks, do you believe that costumed heroes patrolling our streets to keep their communities safe could ever work? Could a widespread wave of vigilantism inevitably end up being disastrous? I mean, you have to think of every idea. I feel like we live in a universe of possibilities. And yeah, there's a possibility that it could work, but is it probable that it will work? No. And that most likely, people are kind of, I don't know. I don't think it could work right now with the way people are. I think if people became a little wiser and a little bit more mature, that could work. But I think that where we're at right now, no, I don't think it's necessarily the best idea. Because it is only, the thing is Alan Moore's bringing up that question. And that's what he wants you to think about is okay, if we really had people dressing up and running around, is that such a good idea, And he's exploring that specific idea in this. Realistically, that's what you read in Under the Hood. And essentially, he's telling you what would happen. Through Hollis Mason, it's you would have all these people who would show up that are just normal people, and they all have their own different reasons for doing it. They're all very flawed humans. Mostly it's a PR stunt. It's not really as effective. It's a snake that eats his own tail. A bunch of people die. It gets really fucked up. Especially when the villains leave. I loved in Hollis Mason's Under the Hood where he's talking about when the villains, he's you have to have a good villain. If you're the only one showing up in a costume, it really takes the fun out of it. You have to have other people who are willing on the other side to dress up in a costume, or the whole thing just does not really work. And I think that's 100% true. I was actually the other day, I wore this crazy David Bowie outfit to this David Bowie party after he died. And I saw it pop up in my Facebook. It's remember this from a couple years ago, And I was oh man, I need an excuse to wear this, And I kind of re-showed it to my people that I'm friends with. And I was yeah, I need a reason to wear this. And then everyone's just wear it. Just wear it wherever, whatever. Just do whatever you want, And I was just you really can't just wear that anywhere. You really can't. It's rude and it's weird and it doesn't really work. And I remember, okay, here's a nightmare. I remember in high school, we had, how you have a week, maybe not. You have a week where you get to do different things. There's dress up in your colors day. And then you dress up in whatever your class's colors is. Thank you, Nightbreed, for subscribing. Also, thank you, Tommy Z34. Well, one of the days was dress as your favorite character day. It was character day, dress as your favorite character. And this was before cosplay, okay? Cosplay was not a big thing, okay? That was not a word. It wasn't even a fucking word that people were using, okay? If you would have said cosplay, everyone would be what the fuck are you talking about? I, at the time, was kind of obsessed with Vampire Hunter D. So I was I wanted to be Vampire Hunter D for character day. And I really went all out. I went nuts. I got a wig. I got a witch hat. And I cut the point off of it. And I made a little jewel. And I had, my stepmom made me a cape, and I had a sword and belts and a whole thing. I just dressed in all black and I really went all out. And then I showed up to school that day, and then nobody else was dressed up for character today. I was one of the only people that was dressed up even. And then I was so extra that I just looked like an asshole all day, and I kind of felt like a dick. Thanks, Dat Beverage, 420 bits. I know, I smoke away these bad memories, it wasn't that, but it's so stupid. So stupid, but it's true. And the thing is, it's true. You can't dress like an asshole if other people aren't going to dress like an asshole, that's just, it doesn't work. That's why I'm actively trying to weasel my way into a group of people in LA that dress like assholes. They're about my age, and everybody likes to dress like an asshole, and everyone has their own aesthetic. But I don't know. It's a thing. It's the thing that's going on right now. And so you do need other people to play along. But I loved that. I loved that part in the Under the Hood supplemental. If you didn't read the supplemental, I feel really like some of you guys didn't read that shit. T-Bone didn't read it. I found out. Hey. He read the other one, though. You read the Dr. Manhattan one.
I missed one.
He missed one. He was I can't. Fuck this. I get it. It's a lot.
Whatever. I set up this whole new OBS software.
Yeah, Tyson did set up this whole new OBS software. It was super crazy. Super crazy. All right.
Yeah, but the original question was, are superheroes possible?
Well, yeah, it's possible, but is it a good idea? No. Probably not. No.
I think it depends on if it's necessary.
But here's the thing. I think that people working in their communities, like working to better their communities, is a great fucking idea. But that doesn't need to be you guys beating each other up. That needs to be like people like coming together to have a community garden, or like people coming together. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like that's way, like I think that that's what we should be doing. And I feel bad because I don't really help my community. Like I need to get in on that community service. Like because I talk a big game about it, but I'm not fucking doing it. I'm an asshole. So I need to go out there, do some community service, plant some trees or some shit. I don't know, figure something out. Although I do feel like this is kind of a community service of what I'm doing. Like I feel like Watchmen Club is a little bit of a community service. But, oh, this is a good question. Tucker Maltby asks, how do you think the story of Watchmen would have changed if Alan Moore was allowed to use the actual Charlton characters instead of their parodies? Do you think it would have had the same cultural impact? I think that was a happy accident. I'm really glad that we have original characters. I think that that's really awesome. And the thing is Blue Beetle is Night Owl, and I do like Blue Beetle in the DC universe, so I think that he has a place there. Like, I love the Question. I think the Question's really cool. He's really underused in the DC universe, in my opinion. Like, that's really dumb that they don't use him more. But he and Rorschach are very similar. So I think that it's great. I love it that it was like one of those things where it's like, the limitation made the art better, and like limitations don't always make the art better, but sometimes they do. And like, it's really exciting when something like that happens. Cause it's like, oh, what a happy accident. Like I wanted to do this, but then I couldn't do what I wanted, but then it came out better anyways, like that's the best.
And it helped you put you into a new world.
Yeah, it helps put you into a new world. Absolutely. Thanks for the cheer, Michael Go Chat. So yeah, I think that was really cool. Kenny Vengeance asks, since Dr. Manhattan and Leto II are both basically gods, why do you think John chooses to sit back and let humanity do its own thing while Leto took control of it to push it forward? Does it have to do with what John says in issue 4 about everyone making choices for him, And well, that's the thing, is like, that's what's so fascinating, and that's what I love about fiction. Is that, again, we live in a universe of possibilities. And so you can explore a lot of these possibilities through fiction. And so there's a lot of people in fiction who have asked, what would happen if there was a corporeal being on this level of reality who became extra human and became as a god? And what would they do? And what would that look like? And you have Frank Herbert, who has the god who's like, oh, I'm going to take over. Is this what you want, guys? Is this what you want? And the thing is Leto took over not because he was greedy for power, but because he was trying to teach humanity a motherfucking lesson. Okay, he was trying to teach them to never let anyone take power over them like that. He was like, you know what, you guys want a fucking god so bad? Boom, here I am. It fucking sucks for thousands of years. Fuck you. And like, he wanted them to have a lesson in their bones to where they would never wish to create a god on Earth ever again. They would never wish for that, and that they would do their own thing, and learn how to fucking, instead of having someone tell them rules, learn how to act right and do their own fucking thing and be independent, and so it was a hard lesson. Like Duke Leto, or Leto II, Emperor Leto II was like, he was a Black Sun lesson where he's like putting humanity in timeout until they fucking figured it out. And then that's how he dealt with, that was that god dealing with the issue of what do you do to make humanity better? If you're above humanity, then how do you pull everyone else up? Because that's kind of, I don't know, part of your job, I guess, evolution. And so in Watchmen, Alan Moore has a similar character who is, become, transcended his corporeal mortality. Is able to live for a really long time, who knows how long, and has these ultimate powers of perception. And can also see the future, because that's the thing, like Emperor Leto could see the future. And that's the thing, you rise above time, And in this, you have Dr. Manhattan, and it shows someone someone who's so enlightened, like the opposite, where instead of trying to teach humanity the Black Sun lesson, he's trying to be the nice guy and just like, look, don't make me do anything. Like, I don't want to get involved here. And you guys really don't want me to get involved, because if I get involved, then it's not going to help anything. And already, like, my just being here has fucked everything up. You know, like my being here has created an unnatural position where America is on the top of the pecking order, and it's like this unnatural power is corrupting the entire system. And it's like him being there is not making people better people. It's making his being there is making people worse. I mean, you see the news vendor, like he's like a total dick when Dr. Manhattan is there. And then the minute he's gone and like they're human again, then like, oh, now all of a sudden he's a nice guy and like cares about his community and is like going to help out this kid who's like a street kid, you know, like so, I mean, it's just like, it's the same problem, but two different people showing you like this, you know, it's so great. That's what I love. That's what I love about fiction. This is what I love about fiction. That was a really great question. Thank you so much for that. Let me see if I can find some. Is this symbolism of John? Okay. C. Manuel asks, what is symbolism of John wearing fewer and fewer clothes? Well, I mean, if you're a god, you don't give a fuck, man. Like, you just don't give a fuck. And you know, honestly, wearing clothes is restrictive and annoying. And he doesn't feel heat. He doesn't feel cold. Like, he says that in there. He's like, I guess I'm used to like not feeling cold or hot. Like, he's so perfectly regulated that he doesn't feel the elements. So he doesn't need clothes. So he's not going to put them on just to make you feel comfortable. Like, he doesn't give a fuck. Like, he's a god. Like, he is like a god. He doesn't want to wear clothes. And honestly, like, there was this one time where I did a cosplay for Lair of the White Worm. And I was painted light blue. I was painted powder blue, which again is like Indian gods are powder blue. I did feel a huge boost of being powder blue. It was one of the best. That's why I want to dress up as Dr. Manhattan, because I just want to be blue again, to be honest. And also,
which cosplay was that for?
That was for my Lair of the White Worm Lady Sylvia cosplay, and she's a snake lady. And during this cosplay shoot, like, I was wearing like pasties and like a hat and some gauntlets and some little underwears that I made myself, and that was it. I was wearing next to nothing. And I hiked up with my friends to this cave, and we took photos on location in this cave, and it was hot that day. But I remember everyone else was like, oh, it's so hot. But because I was wearing like nothing, I was like, I feel great. Like, I'm naked. I'm almost naked, and I feel great. And I'm painted blue, and this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I get it. I get why he doesn't want to wear clothes. I wouldn't wear clothes either. Like just like you can't dress up like an asshole when other people don't dress up like an asshole. You can't be naked because other people aren't going to be naked and play that game, you know? But being naked around other people is, like, great. It's so healthy. I think it's so fucking healthy. I think being naked in nature is super fucking healthy. I go to a bathhouse every now and again. I go to a spa, and, like, there's all these naked women everywhere. Young, old, in between, you know, good looking, not so good looking. Like, everybody is represented. And it's great. It feels really great to just be around naked people and nobody give a fuck. And you're not like, oh God, don't look. You know, it's just like, oh, we're all humans. We're all here. Like, we're all here to steam ourselves and relax and just, like, cut the bullshit, you know? So I don't know. I get it. I'm a big fan of nudity. I think that if people were more chill about it, you know, if guys were more chill about it, you'd see so many more titties. Like, see so many more titties if guys could just be cool about it. But a lot of guys, they don't have the ability to be cool about it, and they, like, freak out, and then you gotta hide the titties. So it's your own fault, guys. It's your own fault. You just gotta play it cool. You know, you gotta learn to play it cool. Oh, so Philip J. asks on Patreon, is it too soon to compare Dr. Manhattan, Paul Atreides, and Billy Pilgrim's Stuck/Unstuck timelines? I don't know about Billy Pilgrim, but you can definitely compare Dr. Manhattan and Paul Atreides, or you can compare Dr. Manhattan with Leto II as well, his son. So, yeah. Oh, thank you, Mr. Hatchet, for subscribing. Really appreciate it. And Moog Returns. Good job. Thanks, guys. You guys are so sweet. Yeah, you can absolutely compare those guys. Like, do it all day. Do it. In fact, I encourage it. Compare these motherfuckers. Because they're all, I mean, they're talking about the same things of, like, what would a human being do with the power of God? You know, like, what would happen if a man became God? You know? And it's interesting, I think, that you can also draw the comparison between Dr. Manhattan and Jesus. You know, he was supposedly a god who became man, which is the inverse of a man who became God. But I thought I I totally caught it when Hollis Mason was talking about in the comic. He's like, they almost crucified your boy, you know, like they were getting ready to crucify. He uses the word crucify your boy when all the media turns on Dr. Manhattan, and he's on, I gotta get out of here. It did turn into a witch hunt. But again, in the inverse, instead of him actually getting crucified like Jesus did, he just fucking did, like, he just boned out. He was just like, used his God powers and was like, I'm not gonna go through this. I'm out of here. So it's interesting, like, they have a lot of inverse situations going on, you know, like, they have a lot of comparisons that you can draw. And, you know, I think it's because the thing is, like, I think of, like, all these characters, even the characters from major religions as characters, you know, like, they're all, like, these little philosophical characters. And they all have their own little philosophies. And, yeah, again, I encourage you to compare and contrast archetypes that you find that are similar, you know, or different, whatever, you know. Also, okay, so we got, I'm going to let this guy go here. We're going to talk about Jay Bencomo. He's got some ideas. Let's see what his ideas are. I think The Tale of the Black Freighter is actually a detailed showcase of Dr. Manhattan's feelings and the very human state of the mind, spelling out in a way that the character itself is unwilling or unable to show. The ghost ship is a sudden catastrophe that isolates the castaway from humanity, stranding him in an island filled with death. Just like Manhattan probably sees human reality after becoming immortal in his accident. I check that. I could say yes. I'm going to go ahead and co-sign that one. Good job. I'm going to be grading you right now. The castaway reflects how grateful he is to the woman-shaped figurehead that kept him from drowning, which could be an allusion to Janie Slater and later to Lori, the women he loves and tethers him to the world at different points in time. Absolutely. Check mark there. Love it. Then the castaway reflects on the seaweed blinding the eyes of the figurehead and how he chooses to leave it there to spare her from suffering the terrible distractions of the grim timeline, which actually breaks my heart because it speaks to how this being who is truly in love with these women carries the burden of knowing how it will all end by himself. Check mark. Which also is something that happens in, what was the name of that movie? Arrival. Arrival talks about transcending time and, like, becoming someone who you transcend linear time and you're able to see the past, the present, and the future. That's something that's also featured in Arrival, which I think you guys should check out if you're interested in more on that. Later on, the castaway talks about how the freighter's murderous onslaught is coming for his town and his loved ones while they remain unaware that damnation bears down on them, just like most of humanity fails to see how truly close nuclear apocalypse was around the corner. Dr. Manhattan's reckoning just a few days in the future. Check. Finally, the castaway, crazed with helplessness, I cursed God and kept wondering if he wept also, which, if I'm right, shows how much Dr. Manhattan truly cares. He isn't detached from human emotion, just exists in an elevated state of consciousness that interacts with emotions in a different way. Check. And with the last lines, for me at least, more drives home the point of the castaway being a reflection of Dr. Manhattan's true emotional state. And in the terrible silence, I understood the true breadth of the word isolation, and the freighter was almost upon them. Who would care for them now that I was gone? And Dr. Manhattan sits alone Mars at the end of the issue. Check! Ding, 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 ding. A+, bro. You totally fucking smashed it. Jay Bencomo, that is absolutely one way that you can look at that. And it absolutely lines up with Dr. Manhattan. The Black Freighter absolutely lines up with Dr. Manhattan. But also, markup 1995. Thank you. Hello. So also, though, I think you can also equate the survivor of the Black Freighter also with the newsman, you know, also with the street vendor guy, you know, like I feel like all the things that the Black Freighter is saying, when you juxtapose it to what he's saying, it's like, it's perfectly like those two characters line up. And really, you know, the man in the Black Freighter is humanity, you know, and it's fear. It's like we live in this fear state because we live in this universe of fucking chaos, you know, and like when you see it, when you see the chaos that you're living in, when you stare into the abyss, you fucking are driven a little mad by it, you know. And the news vendor, I mean, he says that his eyes are open. He sees everything that's going on all the time, which to a degree he sees he sees a lot of information, but he doesn't know everything. But from what he has seen, it has driven him a little mad. It has driven him a little crazy. Same thing with Dr. Manhattan, you know, it's like when you really like these big existential questions, like you're just like, oh fuck, you know, they're really throw you for a loop and they fuck your shit up a little bit. And the Black Freighter is like this idea of violence, you know, this idea of this impending doom, you know, that's like bearing down. And that's the idea is where this fear comes from, you know, it's like this guy has this fear and like it's not only talking about Dr. Manhattan in the Black Freighter, but he's also talking about the everyman in the comic book and what it is to be human. And he's also, and he's just talking about what it is to be human for us, like just for us. Like that's something that kind of a lot of guys go through, I think. A lot of guys like see that moment where it's like, oh shit, like you see reality for what it really is and how fucked up it is, you know, and how violent it is, and it fucking scares you, and it's like scares you for your loved ones, you know, and then you get in this fear state, and then that's why guys go to war and stuff like that, because they're in this fear state because they see how fucked up the world really is. And they're right, the world is fucked up, but that's not the entire truth, you know, that's not the entire truth. There's also very beautiful things. So again, it's like you don't have to choose one. You can choose both. Like you can think two opposing truths at the same time. And if you can do that, then you can rise above. Then you can rise above the fear shit. You can rise above the fear, you know, a little bit. Like fear is the mind killer, you know, like litany against fear. Like that's something that that is talked about and doing a lot. You have to be able to do that, you know. So Black Freighter guy, he's having a hard time doing that. But if you're able to transcend your fear, it's like that's a step towards enlightenment. You know, it's a step towards more self-control. Let's see here. I know, this really is a masterpiece, god damn it. You're right, dude. You're right, Blombadil. It is. It's such a fucking masterpiece. That was the thing, like, I was, you know, when we first put this together, I was just like, okay, let's do two issues a week. You know, I think that's good. I think 2 issues a week. But man, like since I've been reading these issues, it's like, fuck, I could have done 1 issue a week. Like there's so much stuff you can take apart. Like there's just so much in here. Like I've just had so many thoughts about this. It's hard to even kind of like outline it and be like, oh, what do I want to focus on? You know, you have to just pick what to focus on because there's so many things you can talk about. And that's that's the mark of a fucking masterpiece, you know? So I just...
Different interpretations you can also bring.
Yes, there's so many different interpretations you can bring. There's so many levels. There's so many layers. There's so much thought put into this. And this is what I call an alchemical work of art. This is an alchemical work of art. These works of art are amazing and special and beautiful, okay? These men who worked on this channeled something greater than themselves. They put it in this piece of art that we can revisit years later, you know, and it's still affecting us in ways that we don't even truly understand and grasp, but also is affecting us in very conscious ways, not only unconsciously, but affects us consciously. And it stands the test of time. And that's important. That's why I love art, you know, and that's why I kind of lobby for art. And that's why I've always been about it, is because it's something where it's like, if you think about it, like these are just squiggles on a page. These are just lines and colors. These are just lines and colors. All of this is just lines and colors. And yet all of these lines and colors come together and create something that affect you on an emotional level. Like what? And like make you like think about things differently and like changes the way your perception of the world. Like that's fucking magic. That's deep magic. You know, anytime it's on a piece of paper, just 2-dimensional, just you know, whatever. You can use it for kindling, or you can use it for kindling in your fire, or you can use it for kindling in your fucking brain, you know, and in your soul. So I'm just saying. Oh, she's high as fuck. I'm not high as fuck. This is not me being high. This is me being real with you. Okay. Like that's the thing. Like people are like, whenever people are awed, you know, that makes other people uncomfortable, like the awe, you know, and so they like to attribute it. Oh, they're just drunk, or oh, they're just high, because like they're scared because they don't necessarily feel that way. And that's okay that you don't necessarily feel that way, but I do. And I'm not just stoned or drunk right now. I'm just telling you how I really feel. That's how I really feel. I think art is so important. That's why it's so important. That's why I talk about it. That's why I'm sharing this with you guys. That's why I chose to talk about this specific thing, is because I feel like it's needed right now. Deep medicine, fellas.
That being said, we need to take a quick break. Be right back.
But okay, well, hold on. You know, it's okay. Like, people, like, it's, Draco, you said, dude, be respectful to the streamer. And it's like, no, it's okay. You can question me. I want you guys to question me. You should question me. Don't listen to everything I have to say either. Like, I don't want you to listen to everything I have to say either. Like, don't listen to everything anybody has to say. Form your own opinions, you know? And I don't know. I like it when you guys challenge me. I think it's really cool. So it's okay, you know, like, we don't have to agree on everything. That's fine. Let's just talk about it, you know, like, it's cool. It's cool. Just, you don't be a dick, you know, you don't be a dick, but even if you are a dick, it's like, whatever, it's fine. Like, I used to work at a tattoo shop for 5 years. Like, I've dealt with actually scary people. All right, we're gonna do a be right back.